Greetings. Welcome back to another fabulous and fantastic episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. That is Death and Taxes. Taxes. I hate taxes. I'm stop being overly dramatic for no reason at all. But I'm here with my esteemed Johnson & Wales alumni, Mr. Ben the Magic Holloway. Sir, how are you doing? And how are you feeling about your Cowboys this year? Because this one, boy, y'all been a topic of discussion.
I mean, more of the same, right? I mean, relevant but not relevant.
Right.
Like you're there, like you're good but not great, and you're on national TV a lot, and you know,
we're gonna spend 2 minutes.
The cycle just continues.
Yeah, we need to spend 2 minutes to talk about that. But first, so tonight we're going to be discussing U.S. men's and women's basketball, fantasy football draft strategies, and more. But first, we gotta pour some for the homie who passed away, Mr. Billy Beane. At 60 years old, so young. The Moneyball, the show, the movie rather, a great movie, one of my top 10 favorite movies, just you and I being just great baseball fans in general. To see him pass away at such a young age, he was the pioneer of the analytics game. I feel he made it become a viable thing. But what are some of your thoughts for the homie who passed away, man? It's really sad.
Yeah, it definitely is. Condolences to, all of his surviving family, of course. And it just a legacy. Like, you can be similar to, like, let's say just the first name that comes to mind is Charles Barkley, right? I mean, Hall of Famer, great career, didn't win a championship. Billy Beane didn't win a championship, but he left a legacy. Like, he made, like, when you talk about, like, executives who had, like, an impact, you felt it. He had an impact. He, in a way, changed and revolutionized baseball. And it was so, at the time, out of left field. It was so fresh. It was so new. And, he had those Oakland Athletics teams were near the bottom of the cap, like, every year. And every year back then, when he was at the helm, they're winning the AL West. Like, they're just winning games. And back then, the stadium, people went, the fans. I mean, they still didn't sell out, but at least they got more in attendance. I'm not even talking about the last couple of years when they've been trashed. Just in general, back then, they definitely got more fans to the stadium. But, it's definitely a legacy that he leaves. He was a very, very successful executive with a small market team. Mm-hmm. That's not easy to do. Like that the name that comes to mind, to be honest, like an equivalent that's just kind of on the spot, just thought of it, is Sam Presti. Small market team, has done a great job for the Thunder, hasn't won a championship. That just came to mind, but it works. But yeah, Beane he was good, man. With limited resources. I mean, they're not spending money like the Sox and Yankees.
I think if it wasn't for him, I don't think we would see the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Like, I don't think
exactly. Yeah,
I think that he created a blueprint, and Tampa Bay. I mean, really, ever since 2008, they might not have, won a World Series, but year in and year out, they have a winning record, or they're competing for the division. They always do the right thing as far as getting rid of players just right before they have to pay them, and they're able to bring up other prospects, and that takes a good, keen eye for talent. Yep. And when you're looking at teams like the Orioles, shout out to my hometown, Baltimore, like. That blueprint was by Billy Beane, right? Like, this is not a team that's, that has the highest payroll, but they have one of the best rosters in the league. So it's always interesting, But shout out to Billy Beane, to his family, condolences. Shall we get to this first topic? Shall we talk about your Cowboys, man? Because I'm not trying to get your blood pressure going. We don't have to say
No,
but
let's.
I'm
I'll save
frustrated.
it. I'll save it. I got a little something. We'll
Okay,
throw something at the end. But let's
okay,
get to these
okay.
quarterbacks
Yeah,
who
'cause
did get paid,
yeah,
because
it's very
Dak still
frustrating.
hasn't gotten paid.
Okay, so Tua, Jordan Love, and Trevor Lawrence. Jordan Love and Trevor
We're
Lawrence.
gonna go most likely to win the Super Bowl down to least likely. The highest, most likely to win, and we're not talking about this year. We're talking about the next 5, 10 years. Most likely to least likely. You want to have that at first? You want me
Yeah,
to?
yeah. I'm not very confident at this at all because, quite frankly, I don't think any of them are. But I mean, I'm going
Yep.
to go just based on, you know, I'm going to go Jordan Love at one just because I trust the. It's about who you trust and who has better. I, mean, I guess.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, who has given you the structure and the chops, right? And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Jordan Love first, just because I just trust Green Bay a little bit more, and I think that division they're going to be much more competitive, and they're going and the Detroit, in my opinion, shouldn't be the runaway favorites in this division this year. I feel. And then I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence second because of Doug Peterson having had done it before, just off of past and a recency bias. And then I'm going to go Tua just because I just feel that the Dolphins are just they're a feel good story, but I just feel they're overhyped. I don't feel McDaniel is the coach that could lead them to win a championship because they're such a rhythm type of team, and we have seen last year that when the rhythm is off, they don't know what the hell to do. So that's on coaching to figure it out. So plain and simple. How about yourself, sir?
Yeah, so I actually have the same order, but I'm gonna go with different reasons, sort of, just to make it interesting, I guess. Jordan Love, I wrote down because of the young talent on that team. They got like 5 wide receivers that, if one or two of them kind of that elevates that team so much more. I mean, Christian Watson, the guy Wicks, the guy Dobbs, they got so much, and they're all young. So the young talent, and then the draft history. Green Bay, they know how to draft for the most part. They draft really well over their last 10, 15 years. They draft pretty well. So I got Love most likely. I had Tua at 2, but then I a little switcheroo. I looked at the weapons a little bit because I had Tua at 2 because of Tyreek and Waddle. But then I looked at, well, the running backs, A-Chain and Mostert, are really good when they're healthy, but they're not healthy. And I looked at, to your point, they are like, they remind me a little bit of that 15-1 Panthers Super Bowl team that when everything was going right, they were unbeatable. And when things were going wrong, no, that was Cam Newton.
No, okay. 2000.
Your Broncos smacked him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that was your that one. But like the Dolphins last year, it's like funny because the Dolphins and Cowboys played, I think, on Christmas Eve, and it was like a mirror playing a mirror. We beat up on the crap teams and we can't beat the good teams. Well, you're each a good team, so somebody's got to win. And Miami won on a last-second field goal. But like Dallas and Miami last year were like exactly the same. They beat the crap out of the nobodies, and then they couldn't beat good teams. They just didn't. Both Miami and Dallas. And Miami, it's like when it's clicking, it looks unstoppable.
Yeah.
Your Broncos can attest to it. Put up a nice 70 piece on them bad boys. But Miami is just like, when things aren't going right, it's like they don't have an answer. When things are slogging along, it's like they can't figure it out. And to your point, a lot of that has to go on coaching. And then, of course, injuries, right? We just said the running backs, and then Tua, we know his injury history. So I had to move them down to 3. And I forgot the Jags had gotten that rookie receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. I'm pretty big on him. I think he's a really good player. I think he's going to be really good. And Travis Etienne, even if Miami running backs are healthy, I think Etienne's got more talent. And then Miami, they don't really have a tight end, really. Not anybody good. And the Jaguars have Evan Ingram. And to your point, Doug Peterson, the Super Bowl coach. So we had the same order: Love, Lawrence, Tua.
Yeah,
And
and
also, let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes ain't going anywhere. He is in the AFC. He is not in the NFC, which makes it slightly easier to make the
yeah,
Super Bowl in
and
the NFC.
I think they're going to three-peat. I think they're going to three-peat. I'm not saying they're going to be unstoppable, but I see them winning 13 games.
You know what's crazy? Everybody for months is saying how Rashee Rice is going to get suspended, and it hasn't happened yet.
Well, I mean, but
I'm
those
not
things take
saying it's
time. They
not
take
gonna
time.
happen, but the NFL takes their freaking time with
Yes,
this
they
stuff.
do. Well,
I think so many people are assuming that he's gonna miss like 8 games, 10 games, whatever it is. I think he will get suspended for a bit, but I don't think it's gonna be the whole season. Like I feel like people are a little bit overreacting and over predicting how many games he's going to miss. Like I don't see him getting suspended more than 6, to be honest. And I don't even think it'll be that high.
I think it'll be. I'm not saying it's going to be slap in the wrist. I think it's going to be no more than 3 games, but he's going to get.
Yeah, I'm
We're
thinking
going to
3 or
find out
4.
before the season. Yeah, we're going to find out before the season. But one thing about like Miami that is just so frustrating. I know you're the stats guy, but I looked up the defensive rankings for the Miami Dolphins, and they were 10th in total defense last year. They were a top 10 defense with great edge rushers, great linebackers, a decent secondary. You know, you got Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill and you got those great running backs and Raheem Mostert defied all odds being over 30. The last time you had a guy like that was Julius. Who was it? Who's that running back? I'm trying to think. He was over 30.
Julius Thomas, maybe?
Yeah, Julius Thomas. Okay, Julius Thomas. Yeah, he reminds me of Julius Thomas when he was with the Bears. Had a hell of a year, right? You had that was a Super Bowl caliber roster, in my opinion. And
well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but and I don't remember all of them exactly, but they got like for the last 5 weeks they lost guys season-ending injuries, like boom, 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 boom. Like Chubb, I think Chubb was one of them. They had Phillips, their big defensive tackle, I think was one of them. There was Waddle wasn't season-ending, but I think he meant like there was like every game in December they lost like a legitimate starter. So I agree with you to an extent, but them injuries. You put those injuries on anybody, you lose like 5 starters in a 5-week period, you ain't winning, like the whole thing. But I agree with you.
The offense, but just let alone there was still enough on that defense despite the injuries. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but to at least make it past the first round. And I think, but hey, it is what it is. We can talk about them forever. But shall we get on to this next topic, sir?
Yeah, let's get to that women's basketball team in the Olympics before we go men's. Let's show the women some love first.
Yeah, dog. Like, I mean, Asia Wilson is doing what Asia Wilson does. You know, wow, Asia Wilson. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina Ionescu. We got. I mean, they were challenged a little bit against Belgium, just a little bit. But I don't think that's a sign of is people catching up to the WNBA and to the women's. No, that's not happening. But hey, it is what it. And do we have a Gary Legend sighting? Even if it's audio.
You do indeed. How's everybody doing?
It was good, buddy. It's been a minute.
What's up, Gary?
Been some time. How's everybody doing?
Good, Gary Legend. Good.
Hey, Gary, we'll go back a segment. Did you do the first one, Love Lawrence Tua? Do you want to chime in on that? The topic was most likely to win and is least likely. Yeah. You got Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Tua.
Ooh.
Most likely to win a Super Bowl, the least likely. Not this year, just in general.
Just in general, from most to least. I'm going to go in order. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, and then Tua. I think there's too many questions with him. I think Jordan Love, you kind of are starting to get an understanding of who he is. There's a little bit of that Brett Favre gunslinger in him, where he's going to make the bad plays, going to make those mistakes here and there. I think on the flip side of that, he's going to be responsible for winning Green Bay a lot of games. And I think Trevor Lawrence, he has to reap the benefit of that division in the AFC South being a 2-team race. It's him, it's Houston, it's Jacksonville and it's Houston.
Yep.
Tennessee's on the way up. Indy is kind of where Indy's always been for like the last few years. They're too bad to be good and too good to be bad. I think for him, you have to do what like a Joe Burrow did. And speaking of Trevor Lawrence, you have to do what a Joe Burrow did in the sense of crashing the party and just catching a team like a Kansas City on an off year. That's how he's going to take that step forward. But I think it's doable, and I think of those three, he's the likeliest to get to a Super Bowl. And then, like I
Okay.
said, Tua would be the least likeliest.
I like it. I like it. I
Mhm.
just wanted to. I know you're a big NFL guy, so I wanted to. We had moved on, but I was like, you know what? Let's get Gary in on this NFL talk
But
too.
Gary, I got it just real quick. Just want to pitch just real quick. Gary, have you seen the your Giants off season show yet? Have you, or are you not putting yourself through the torture?
It's propaganda. Why am I going to subject myself to this propaganda? Like, they're not going to show you anything truly substantial that makes me go, oh my God, like, this is how the inner workings of the Giants are. Like, the Giants are a less successful San Antonio Spurs. The
Okay.
operation is nice, and you see that there's like levels to the success, but there's nothing exciting about this team. And that's not even just me looking at personalities. It's just like, why are you showing me the blueprint for a 5-12 season? I don't like you haven't answered any of the questions that Giants fans have. Why am I going to watch a show that's not going to answer any of the questions? Like, I don't need to know why Saquon left. He left. That's problematic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And
at the
Gary,
end of the day,
that wasn't laughing at you. That was just like an agreement. Like that's just what it is. You're
no,
right.
like
I mean, that's what it
you're
is.
this is like for me. I'm like, there's nothing that truly drew me to go. Oh yeah, I need to watch this. Besides them being team, but that wasn't enough. So no, I have not watched it, and I have no intent. I have no intent to.
Okay. But I will say though, if like putting our teams together, I think you guys are going to win. Are going to have two more wins than us. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that you guys are gonna have a better. You guys are gonna have a better season than us, and that's really saying something. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But anywho, let's get back to this.
Yeah, yeah.
To
Let's
these.
get back to this women's team. Sorry, Jeff,
Yeah.
to go back, but I wanted to get his NFL take in there
It's
too.
all good, man. We're
Um,
going to keep it. Go ahead, Ben.
you were the women's team. Like, here's the thing. I was about to. I noticed this the other day, and I'm gonna give you a little Brianna Stewart. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth, but the whole Caitlin Clark is the best women's college basketball player ever. Brianna Stewart won 4 national championships.
Thank you. Thank
Four,
you.
I'm not even done yet. Four
Oh,
national championships,
go.
four most outstanding players, which is the MVP of the Final Four. And
Mm-hmm.
in 4 years, she lost 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's
And
no
how
other
many
record.
undefeated seasons? Did they have back-to-back undefeated seasons, I think, or how many undefeated seasons?
I don't know, but they only lost 5 games in 4 years. And she won 4 championships.
Thank you.
And
Thank
she was
you.
MVP 4 times. Like,
And I agree.
case closed on that. I just wanted to give you a little bit of love on that. So, anyways, back to the U.S. women's team. Brianna Stewart is obviously on the team. Aja Wilson is unbelievable, and Sabrina Ionescu. Like those three. It's just like, what team has an answer for those three? You can't. Like those three are that good, and then you got Griner, who's just dominating on defense and rebounding, coming in like off the bench. To your point, Jeff, their last game against Belgium was relatively close, but in that game, Stewart 26 points, 7 rebounds. Aja Wilson 23 points, 13 rebounds. I think Aja Wilson has a double double every game. Like U.S. women's, I mean, it is incredible, even though the world, quote unquote, is sort of catching up. That 58 wins in a row in Olympic basketball, that's something. Like, that is impressive no matter, okay, we have the best talent, and the U.S. women's has historically dominated more than the men's in the Olympics, but that gap is similar to the men's. The gap is shrinking. So it's like, enjoy those as many wins in a row as they can get, because that number is going to climb. Ultimately, that streak's going to end. But regardless of the talent level, to 58 games in a row at this point, to line up and win, not going to win all the time moving forwards. So just wanted to kind of highlight what they're doing right now.
Thanks. I mean, dog, like the future for the WNBA is very bright. You know, I'm gonna think about the future. Like, I'm very looking forward to 2028. Like that, if there's any event that I'm looking forward to watching in 4 years when it's here, Gary, is the women's basketball team because Juju Watkins could potentially be on that team. That Clark individual, yeah, is going to be on it. And Angel Reese is going to be on it, the best rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But Gary, your thoughts?
I think, and I was listening to the radio this morning about this very topic. I think that we kind of hyped ourselves on both the men's and women's side, but since we're talking women, we'll talk about them first. That the world up that they are beatable, and we're in this tournament that's not necessarily the case. So yes, these other teams, these other countries are catching up, but the best in the world still resides in the United States on both the men's and women's side. With the women, I mean, why don't we just create a factory that goes directly from UConn directly to the U.S. women's team? It's you might as well. It's just let's continue. Let's keep Gino Ariema. Let's crank them out one by one as we do, because that's what it is. It used to be Tennessee and Connecticut. Now it's more just Connecticut at this point. But you know, the best women's basketball players are in the United States, and that has not changed. And I think, we talk about 2028, until there's a real influx of international talent, let's say in the WNBA, where they can be seen and be on more of a bigger stage. Until we see that, this is going to be it. We're going to have these like debates of whether or not is there a team that can beat them. And yes, at some point somebody will catch them on an off day, but I don't see it coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, facts. And let's get you on this men's one, sir.
Yeah, so for the men, same story. I think we hyped ourselves up. We saw how they played against South Sudan, against Germany, and those were closer games. But based off of how they played through this game against Brazil this afternoon, this is looking more and more like those two games were like preseason, and like for real, it didn't matter and didn't really count. But you're looking at this team. Your best player is damn near 40, and is knocking on the door of 40, and it looks like he did when he was 30. And I'm not, you have him. You have a healthy Kevin Durant. You've got the future in Anthony Edwards. You've got all these great talented players, and that includes Joel Embiid. Like you have all this talent here that if they stay healthy, again, the world can catch up, but the best are the best, and they're here. I don't see that. I see the gap closing, but I don't see a team in this tournament or probably the next that can truly sit here and say that they're definitively better than the U.S. and can beat them.
Yeah, and just to jump in on this real quick, Ben, for us to use, like, people are saying, okay, they're not blowing out teams by like a 46.5 margin by the Dream Team, but let's also beat reality that then there was maybe, I think, 5 NBA players total, I think I saw in 1992 that didn't play on Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
So now where you had 46.
Even more, 68.
Right? So,
68.
Right? Yeah, so it's not like, yes, we have the better NBA collection of talent, but they are catching up in the sense of these guys are not scared because they play with them, they practice with them, they play against them 3 to 4 times a year. So I think that when you are considering just that level of experience, I think that makes a difference. But Ben, I really want to get your thoughts on this. Gary, it's I'm just concerned about 2028 in the sense of LeBron James is 40, Kevin Durant's 35. I don't see Anthony Davis playing next year. I don't see on the next one. I don't see Joel Embiid playing. We have size for the first time, I feel, in the last 3 or 4 Olympics because we've primarily been a little bit smaller. We've had to play guys like Tyson Chandler just to have a center. We've had to play back in, I think, 2016, we had JaVale McGee, right? Like those are not dynamic type of bigs. So I am just concerned about our ability to protect the paint in the next coming Olympics because we're more of a 3-and-D fast break oriented type of league now where European FIBA is more half court getting your set. So that's going to be a very interesting development to follow. But Ben, I wanted to get your thoughts just overall about the men's, but first just your thoughts on that, and then Gary, feel free to chime in after that.
Yeah, it's funny that Gary was talking about our soon to be 40-year-old LeBron because my first notes were Bron in all caps because that's like the difference he's making obviously on this team and in this Olympics. But I also wrote down, just out of curiosity, I wrote down 2 quotes. By one is LeBron's quote and one is Durant's, and it kind of just stuck with me, and it kind of matches how they're playing as well. So LeBron, direct quote, "It starts on the defensive end. We need to play lockdown defense in order to win this gold medal." And Durant, "I love how we are defending and talking on defense." Like, that's 2 of your best players on the entire team, and they're committed to defense. And that is 2 things to me: pride, number 1, and number 2, that's coaching as well. You know, Kerr has gotten all this criticism about his lineups and this and that. It's like, dog, they're winning, and they're winning by double digits. So is he really making mistakes, that many mistakes? I would say no. His lineups are a little bit confusing, I would say, but they're winning, and they're winning by a lot. And he's getting the guys to buy in on the defensive end, clearly. I mean, those are direct quotes. And I wrote down 2 other players that I'm very impressed with thus far, has been 2 of the younger guards, Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards. They both have played really well, especially the last 2 games, I think. And those 2 will almost definitely be on the 2028. As far as the bigs go, it's kind of one of those things where let's see how some of the young bigs that are in the NBA now, what can they get to? I mean, maybe, I don't know his direct nationality, but I'm just spitballing an idea. I mean, by 2028, Chet Holmgren will probably be on an Olympic team. I don't know if he's all U.S. or if he has some other, but Holmgren will probably be on an Olympic team in 2028. I mean, that's one guy that will be most likely playing in the 2028 Olympics.
Thanks. Gary?
No, just to piggyback off what Ben was saying, like as far as the bigs, right now, like the one big that you can guarantee that will be back in 2028 is going to be Bam Adebayo, and he's not, and he's not really a big like that. So, like, yeah, you're right. You mentioned Chet Holmgren. Memphis just drafted?
Edey.
You have him. That's a possibility if his skill set improves. Like there are bigs to that.
He's Canada.
Huh?
Edey's Canada. Edey's from Canada. He wouldn't play for Team USA.
Okay, so let's remove him. The guy from Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he's somebody that's on the rise as far as a solid defensive big. You know, there are players that are on the rise up that we have to kind of just wait for and see how they're going to produce and whether or not that's going to be conducive to Team USA. You look at like a Derek White, who by no means is he some 25 a night scorer, but he did enough of the intangibles that Team USA said, yeah, we need him instead of a Jaylen Brown, instead of a Jalen Brunson, like instead of one of these other players. We took him instead. You're going to need more of those type of players to go alongside an Anthony Edwards, a Devin Booker. You know, KD is probably going to be the elder statesman if he so chooses to come back. Same things to be said about Steph Curry. They're going to be the elder statesman on this team. You got to surround that with the younger, healthier talent, and there are plenty within the NBA now. My man out of Orlando, Paolo Banchero.
Banchero, yep.
He would play for Team USA. that's a stretch big that can shoot too. Like, so his style game will complement the Olympic way of playing. There's a lot of options here. It's just a matter of like seeing like who truly fleshes out.
Okay. All facts, all facts. I'm just going like Ben Carroll, Jalen, and Jackson played on the FIFA on the World Cup team last year. They didn't necessarily play too well, but again, they're young. 4 years is a lot of time, and we'll see. Maybe we'll have a Death Taxes and Sports episode like 650, but who knows? Who knows? Death Taxes Sports, we're coming to the Olympics in 2028. Get ready. All right. Let's kind of keep this thing moving here. Just for the sake of just time and all that. I just got 2 quick points, and that's also to Gary. It's like just overall with these Olympics, Biles, hell of a run. It was great the way that she was able to come back from the twisties and the mental health issues and all that. I know, Ben, I know you're very big on the mental health aspect. And it was great that she was able to come back and be able to dominate the way that she was able to do. But I also got to give some love to a Brazilian Olympian named Rebecca
Andrade.
There we go. You know how good I am at enunciating names. I believe this player had multiple ACL tears. If I'm being mistaken, we'll fact check that. But her adversity, and I love the photo moment of Simone Biles and her other teammate bowing down and giving her the respect that she earned for winning that gold medal in that last competition. I don't know why people in this country are so angry at it. Y'all, it's really not that deep. What I feel the Olympics brings is unity in a time of destitute and vile and nasty relationships among other countries and among other competitors. So I just think like overall it was really great to see. So those are just kind of some of my thoughts.
Yeah, for me, I like what the Biles, of course, because I mean I just wrote down Simone Biles GOAT. I mean there's no other argument. And you're right to give Andre credit because Biles' floor routine is her strength, and she didn't get gold there, and Andre deserved it. I also think that Katie Ledecky deserves some shine for sure. She's the first person ever, men or women's, to win the 1500 meters swimming gold medal in 4 straight Olympics. The first man or woman to do that. And just kind of overall thoughts. I've been enjoying, to be honest, watching both the volleyball and the beach volleyball. Just periodically watching some of that. It's been very entertaining. I mean, their athleticism is crazy and how much they care. And also, I watched a little bit of the table tennis, the ping pong table tennis. I mean, those have been some fun events for me to watch. So yeah, that's kind of what I had for the Olympics. Gary, any overall thoughts? Anything you want to add?
No, I mean you covered two of the names I wanted to mention. Simone Biles, really kind of just continuing to set the standard, especially in gymnastics. Yes, she didn't win all the golds, but to be the most decorated athlete, from in that field, you can't beat that. She's taking that mantle from the previous generation of great American gymnasts, and I feel like she's going to continue to carry that and continue to be the ambassador for that sport. Katie Ledecky is just better at swimming than anybody I've ever seen this side of Michael Phelps. I think there's a lot of I think the best way I can put it, there's a lot of growth across the board for sports here from Team USA. I think we're going to continue to see that. I think 2028 is going to be truly a showcase for us. But I look at 2024's Olympic Games and go like, this was like the first step in seeing Team USA truly be great across the board.
Yeah, well said. I like that really well. Jeff, are you back, sir?
Thank you. Yes, my computer just Loves to turn off in the middle of doing a show. Gotta love it. I have no clue where we are, so update me.
We both gave our Olympic thoughts after you, so we are good to move forwards on the
Okay,
agenda,
all
sir.
right. Sounds good. I think it's time for me to get a new computer. This one is fried. But anyway, all right. Let's get to this. Let's get to some fantasy football because I really want to take some time.
Absolutely.
Is that okay? Is that okay, guys? All right.
Yeah.
So,
Of course.
Let's start with draft strategies.
I'm gonna throw a question. Okay. So PPR, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna throw several questions. And because we're in a couple leagues, I don't want to give too much because I'm going to be competing against you dotards. But anyway, when do you? I want to ask this first question: is Christian McCaffrey? If you have the first overall pick, are you taking Christian McCaffrey? Me, I am not because here's why: back-to-back 300+ carry seasons, a guy who's already injury prone, had a little bit of luck. But he's going into his age 28 season, and that makes me very nervous. What say y'all? And then we can get into other draft strategies. But I had to ask y'all that question first.
I think. Go ahead, Ben.
No, Gary, you good? Go for it.
I think this goes to a talk that we had last season about the value of the running back. I think we've said that McCaffrey is the gold standard, but to your point, Jeff, like Father Time's undefeated, and you very rarely see a running back be truly dominant in the manner in which Christian McCaffrey's been dominant into his 30s, at least in this era. So I think I would be surprised to see running backs go early in this year's draft just because of their usage, or at least how the NFL views them at this point. I think you're going to see a lot of running backs drafted in the middle rounds more than you'll see them in the very beginning. But going back, I think McCaffrey, he can be your top running back picked, but he should not be number one. No.
Take it, Ben.
Yeah, no. I keep it simple. No.
I mean, as I was saying, Chad, he has a calf injury. I mean, it's just all those other things. But anyway, let's get to this to these draft strategies here. Ben, talk to me about your draft strategies, and then Gary, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, let's. I figure time purposes, because I know we got some more fun fantasy football. I figure maybe we each just do kind of 3 draft strategies each. I'll say that what some people do is focus on bye weeks when they start drafting. They got 2 guys with week 9 or 3 guys with week 9, and then you don't want to draft somebody else in week 9. I'm good. I mean, I don't want to get 6 guys on the same bye week, but I, for the most part, am going to take best available. And if I got to deal with 1 week and a bye week, it is what it is at that point. You can prepare for that weeks before. Like if it's week 9, for example, you can start looking to trade some of those guys in week 4 or week 5. Or you can start doing waiver, strategies for week 9. Like the best people plan for their bye weeks before the bye week happens. Like before, you're not putting in like a waiver on a Wednesday for a quarterback that you need for that weekend. You've gotten the quarterback already the week before, so you don't have to think about it. So the bye weeks, I don't, like I said, I'm not going to have 5 receivers or running backs, combination on the same bye, but it doesn't stop me from drafting someone if I've got 2 or 3. I wrote down kind of just trust your gut. I mean, for the most part, if you want to draft someone, do it. I mean, just go with it. I mean, that's your gut. That's your first reaction. Go with it. And then I wrote down also, don't overreact to other teams drafting. So, for example, obviously we've seen it, once somebody takes a quarterback, next 2 or 3 picks are quarterbacks, or, it starts a chain. So don't change what you're doing based upon what the other teams are doing.
Ben, I really like that because sometimes, you rush, like you kind of get scared, but that's why it's so important to do your research ahead of time. So that way, where the value is, and that's what's going to make you probably the better drafter. But drafts are not won in the draft. Leagues are not won during the draft, but leagues can be lost if you do not draft right in those first, 3 rounds. But Gary, talk to me.
I think you're absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. You can easily lose a draft. You can have your season go left by making poor picks in the first couple of rounds. I think personally, I think you need to have a solid wideout as your top pick. Personally, I think because there's going to be, game-changing wide receiver, really game-changing players are in short supply anyway. But I think those are going to be the ones like your Stephon Diggs and all that. They're going to be the ones to be the top picks and be the game changers and be the ones that you need to draft at the very top. I think from there you can go to going to get a quarterback early enough. Getting a quarterback early enough to be the anchor of your team. And then really the last strategy, always throw off the others by drafting somebody a little higher than you should. I think, if you want to be a bit of a disruptor, draft a kicker in the 5th round. Draft a team defense or a little.
Justin Tucker.
No, but to Ben's point, if you have a good feeling about a player or a team defense, draft them. Make a good strategy, get the players that you absolutely want at the very top, but at the end of the day, Ben's got the right idea. If you feel comfortable, if you feel like this is going to be a player that's going to pay dividends to your team, draft him. Oh, sorry, one more. This as an aside. Don't be afraid to draft somebody that's not going to start the season.
Yep.
You never know. I've had seasons saved by a running back that was suspended for the first couple of games or was out a few games, and then you come back and he comes back and he's impactful and he's able to, help bully your team, especially if you need that offensive firepower. So don't be afraid.
Or you draft, J.J. McCarthy in round 12 or something.
Exactly.
He could be the starter in week 4.
Exactly. Just don't be afraid to make that bold choice because it may pay out for you.
Okay. Hey, I like all that. I like all that stuff. For me, I like to keep it very simple. I don't like to get too over analytical. I do believe in analytics, but I focus on my first 4 rounds, my first 4. And no matter what, I'm going to take the best wide receiver in the first round, and I'm going to take the best running back in the second round. And then I'm quarterback no later than 4th round, but that really depends on where the quarterback board is, whether I could potentially get a Josh Allen late in the 3rd round, or is my positioning in that sweet spot like that 8 and 9 spot. I don't want to be number 1. I want to be like 8 or 9, right? And if I can do that, and as long as I can come out with at least one top running back after the first 4 rounds, I'm going to punt on running back a little bit later because I know that I could get, decent value for an RB2 later. But it gets slim pickings after that top tier of running back. But I think secondly is knowing where the value is at tight end and where there are those potential rookie steal tight ends like a Dalton Kincaid, what was it 2 years ago? Now this year, there's actually a little bit more depth at tight end. So that is also going to be interesting. And I think lastly is I don't draft a backup quarterback at all until I have all my roster positions. I don't, because Ben, you taught me this, that I can get real good value at quarterback with a Matthew Stafford off of waivers, and you could win a league with Matthew Stafford. The rest of your league is robust with higher quality.
For me, if I'm going to draft a second quarterback, he's got to be at least 10 picks past his ADP, maybe even 15 to 20. You got to be, especially because you can get a second quarterback after the draft. You can do a little bit like defense where you're looking at what bye week does your quarterback have? You can start looking 2 or 3 weeks earlier what quarterbacks have great matchups that week.
Facts.
So, like, you gotta. I say it all the time. The best people in fantasy do not wait until their bye week to add players. They already have them. They have them beforehand, so they're not stressing about it.
No doubt. Any other draft strategies? Just for the sake of time, let's get to these fantasy football 3 of 3 lists. Sound good, Ben?
Yeah.
I'll lead. I'll let you lead this one.
All right, so we got this is inspired by the wonderful Matthew Berry, and he does 10 lists of 10 or whatever the case may be. So we steal from the great minds, right? So we've got 3 fantasy football 3 lists of 3. So the first list we'll just kind of go one, and then we'll go around, and then we'll go to the second one. So we will start off. All 3 of us will say our top 3 rookie quarterbacks, specifically in fantasy. I'll lead it off. I got Jaden Daniels at 1. I got Caleb Williams at 2. And a little bit of a curveball, I got J.J. McCarthy at 3. And the reason is he got Jordan Addison, he got Justin Jefferson, and he got T.J. Hawkinson. And Sam Darnold ain't in. We've seen, 8 years of Darnold's play? McCarthy's going to be starting at some point. I don't think it's going to be that long either. So I went a little bit bold with McCarthy as 3rd highest rookie quarterback.
Okay. All right. I like it. Gary?
So, me and Ben's list are going to be somewhat similar. I actually have Caleb Williams number 1. I think he'll be the Bears quarterback to actually match the hype. And I think that he will, with that team and that retooled offense, I think he'll reap the benefits. I don't know if that's all going to turn to wins per se, but he'll certainly reap the benefits of an update, a much better offense behind him or in front of him. I think we're going to go – I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy too, just because for the same reasons that Ben said. You have Jordan Addison, you have Justin Jefferson. Like, you've got the 1st and probably 4th or 5th best, I would go 6th or 7th best wide receiver on your team. I think that's enough of a tandem that'll make any quarterback really, worth their snuff. And then number 3, I'll go Jaden Daniels, because he's going to have the opportunity to grow and to, be good and bad with his position. I think there's a little bit of stability there with him that he may even surprise a few people. I think he's going to lead them to more. I have him winning 7. I have him winning 5. I think he'll probably have him winning 6 or 7 games. I think that'll be a telling sign for that team going forward. So yeah, Caleb Williams 1, McCarthy 2, Daniels 3.
Okay. Just because I like to stir the pot, I'm gonna throw a curveball. Well, I'm gonna have Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna have Jaden Daniels at number 1. And I'm gonna have Caleb Williams at number 2. But number 3, because I have a bold prediction, is just something telling me something's gonna happen in Atlanta. And I really feel that there's something there with that Achilles thing with Kirk Cousins. And I think by week 3 or 4, he's going to be fried. Something's just going to happen. Mm-hmm. And Michael Penix, by week 3 or 4, will be the starting quarterback for Atlanta. And that man's going to ball out and put up some numbers. I don't know what it is.
I thought you were going to say Drake May.
No, Drake May, I don't like him, man. Drake May, I don't think he's going to – who's the hell is he going to throw to?
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm just saying, like –
the only positive for him in fantasy is he's going to be throwing it like 45 times a game.
Good guy.
He don't got anybody.
He's a good – I like Russian quarterbacks. I love me some Russian quarterbacks, man. He has a solid build. He can run, but he just reminds me too much of Will Levis, man. He's just insanely inaccurate, and he has nobody to throw to. There's nobody. So he's in a shitty – he's on the worst roster outside of my Denver Broncos, and I'm not trying to trash on my Broncos. Holla at your boy Broncos Nation, but I'm just calling facts for what it is. Bill Nick sure as hell ain't going to be it. I think Jared Stem's going to be the starter for the full season because I don't think he's going to relinquish that job anytime soon. But I'm going to say Michael Penix. I'm just going by just a bold take, a guess.
I like it.
Just something is telling me. That's all.
So since you went last, now you go first. You go first on the next one.
Oh,
three rookie receivers to avoid.
Oh man.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So one is going to be Roma Dunze at first, and then maybe pick him up on waivers just because he's behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, and they still have Komet, whatever the hell that boy's name is. I cannot pronounce the names with the same.
You said it right.
Cole Komet.
Cole Komet.
Okay, I was going to say Cole Connect, but anyway. And then,
you know that's wrong.
Right? Cole Connect fails to connect. But no, like I really think like on paper, this Bears team is really set up nice for Caleb Williams to succeed. I'm not saying Roma Dunze is not going to be viable at first, but I would not expend a draft pick within the first like 8 rounds on this guy just because I don't think it's going to be there, right? It's like Jason Smith, Nixon, but whatever the heck that boy's name is. But you know what I'm talking about.
Jackson Smith Najigba.
There we go. And then I'm going to go – I just don't trust rookie receivers in Kansas City, and I'm going to say Xavier Worthy just because I just don't know – I'm just looking at past, right? Like when we did this fantasy thing 2 years ago, we looked at Sky Moore, right? Like potentially being like that guy, but he didn't do it. And then Nicole Hardman, not that guy. So there's just so many riches on that team. I just don't know what I'm going to get week in and week out. I just don't trust it, right? Like that's just going to be for me. And then lastly, I'm going to go Malik Neighbors, man. And it's not because of talent. It really isn't. It's just Danny Dimes ain't the dimes. He ain't dropping the dimes. And so I just don't think that there's going to be enough offensive production from the quarterback play to warrant me drafting him. But if he's on waivers later, then I'll pick him up. But that's all I'm going to say.
Nah, he ain't going to be on waivers, being a top 10.
I'm just saying.
Top 10 pick in the draft.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
So this is how everybody knows who is watching now or will be watching in the future tomorrow when you're away to work. We talk about the topics. We don't know what any of us are going to say until we say it. The reason I say that is my 3 receivers to avoid are the exact same. Neighbors, don't trust the Giants. Forget the quarterback. I just don't trust the Giants, period. But Dunze, same thing. I don't think he's going to get the volume with the talent the Bears have. And Xavier Worthy feels like he's going to get either 45 fantasy points or 2. It seems like boom or bust, like a huge boom or bust. So those are my 3. Gary, what you got?
Okay, sorry about that. So you mentioned Roma Dunze, you mentioned Malik Neighbors. I think those are going to be 1 and 2 as far as those to avoid. I think though Neighbors has a better I think Dunze has a better opportunity to be, more of a success long term. I think Neighbors, he's kind of like OBJ 2.0, in which he'll have flashes of greatness and have these great, viral moments and things that'll go all over the internet and blow up and everything like that. But I don't think long-term success is necessarily in the cards for him based off of the quarterback play. Really, they're kind of 1 and 2 for me in that sense. I'm trying to think who else. I would trust anybody that was drafted by the Chargers, only because, yes, I know that they have the quarterback whisperer and and Harbaugh, and you think that Justin Herbert's going to take a step forward. I think they're going to take a step back, and I think them letting Mike Williams go or trading him and all that, like, it's going to come back to bite them. There's not going to be that rookie wide receiver that's going to step up for them. They're going to need to probably make a trade midseason if they want to stay relevant, and I don't think there's a rookie on the roster that will make that happen.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna throw one quick nugget. Troy Franklin, Ben, before we talked about the show, Troy Franklin was the number 1 receiver for Bo Nix last season, was the leading receiver for a very productive Oregon team last year. He's a guy that I just feel is going to be like a hybrid version of Puka Nacua, because I think he is going to eventually take the majority of the snaps. I just feel it. There's just something about that guy I really like. So, guys, Troy Franklin of the Denver Broncos, it's just a guess, but I'm just going to go with that. Ben, take it away.
No, I was going to let Gary go first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gary.
Gary, 3 running back value picks.
Yep,
running backs to outperform their ADP.
Okay, so we're going to go 3 that are going to outperform their ADP. I think you can look at – it's interesting. Actually, Ben, go ahead first, just because I need a second to sit on this, because like I said, I kind of sat there and set the table about how devalued running backs were going to be. So I need a second to calibrate my thought for that.
Okay, fair enough. We'll swing it to you last then. We'll give you the next minute and a half or whatever. So for me, Zamir White, the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh Jacobs is gone. They don't have a ton of talent on that team. I mean, clearly Devontae Adams is amazing. Clearly, we know that. But we also know he's not going to be on the Raiders this entire season. I mean, is anybody going to be surprised if he's on the Jets? No. That's bound to happen. It is happening. It's the most obvious thing of the NFL season to me is Devontae Adams is going to go on to the Jets. But also in saying that, it's just because everyone expects it, it's probably not going to happen. But anyways, not a lot of talent on the Raiders. And if Devontae goes, that opens up even more looks for Zamir White because he's a pass-catching back as well. David Montgomery. I mean, the Lions score a lot of touchdowns. And the blueprint last year was when we're close to the end zone, give it to Montgomery. I think Gibbs will get more opportunities than he did last year. But Montgomery just seems to be almost a sure thing to get at least 8 touchdowns, I would say. And touchdowns matter, obviously. And then I went a little bit out of left field on this one, but Austin Eckler for 2 reasons. One, Jaden Daniels is a very athletic quarterback. He's a rookie quarterback. I can see a lot of swing passes, a lot of screen passes. And I also wrote down, Eckler, I mean, he's getting older, obviously, right? And he didn't get the deal he wanted in free agency, and he probably won't next season either. But money is a motivating factor, and he knows if he's going to get another decent contract, he's going to have to ball out. So the fact that usually the rookie quarterback's best friend is a pass-catching running back or a good tight end. So I go Eckler as my third value pick.
Okay. All right, Gary, I'll give you 30 more seconds here. I'm just going to be real quick. Players who I think are going to perform better than their ADP. Right now, again, just going according to ESPN, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is going to have a very big year. I know Charbonnet has taken some snaps from him, but I think he's very young, and he's getting a little bit better from what I've been reading as far as being able to catch balls from the backfield.
Walker's just better.
Yeah.
And Seattle's good. So Seattle wants to win. So they're going to give the
disrespect, though. The disrespect for Seattle, they have Seattle not like ESPN came out. They don't even have them.
Yeah,
they have them winning 7 or 8 games. I'm just like, dog, the disrespect. You have 2 good running backs in Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. You have 3 excellent wide receivers. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I can go on a tangent and we're not here for that. And then I'm gonna go. I just got a feeling, man. I think Jaylen Warren is gonna play a little bit better than his ADP. I'm not saying he's going to be a viable RB1 option, but I think he's an excellent mid-tier RB2. So if you have a guy like a Saquon Barkley as your RB1, I think if you have Warren as your number 2 guy, you feel pretty good about that. Like you really do. And then I'm gonna go another one with Javonte Williams. Because there has been a little bit of down. A lot of people have been down on him because of his performance last year. But we forget that he was a year away from having a horrific knee injury. And it takes a good 2 years for running backs to really get that full explosiveness back. So I think that just because of last season, people are concerned about that. Kind of like Breece Hall last year, where there were a lot of people kind of down on him, came back, was able to get that resurgence. So I think Javonte Williams is going to surprise a lot of people, even though we're going to be 2-15. But hey, it is what it is. Gary?
Okay, so you've already named Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to have an outstanding season. The same for Breece Hall. I think, a healthy Breece Hall that with that Jets offense with added weapons will be certainly somebody to draft and have a breakout season. I'm going to give you a name that has not been mentioned. If it has, I must have missed it. I'm going to say Trey Benson of the Cardinals. I think, even though the Cardinals probably aren't going to do many better than they have been, one thing that we know for a fact is that James Conner's going to get hurt. He's just it's death taxes in the James Conner injury, and I think that'll give. But in doing that, that gives Trey Benson an opportunity to step up and show out and show like we saw him at Florida State. He's an extremely skilled runner. He's very agile, very quick on his feet, and I think the combination of him and Kyler Murray could be fun. It could be entertaining. I think obviously the stigma of them being in Arizona doesn't help matters, but I think whenever James Conner has his injury, let's say week 7, and he's out for like 6 weeks or perhaps a season, that's where you'll see Trey Benson truly step up and show out and, find himself. Really, he could be in the topic and in the talks for Offensive Rookie of the Year when the season ends.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Hey, I like it. That Trey Benson one is definitely a good one. I'm just excited for football in general. But Ben, I'm going to be very quick on my rant, and then you can get loud to it because I really want to get to this Cowboys one because this one, just as a fan, I feel a type of way, right? Folks, the Seine River in Paris. This river has been illegal to swim in for a century. And then they decide, hey, let's just allow the world's best triathlon athletes swim in a dirty river. No matter how much you clean it, it still had E. coli levels. And they still had to cancel several practices because the E. coli levels were too high. I don't know how you go from it having higher levels than the lower levels, but the damn E. coli and all the bacteria from all the dead bodies over the years from all the wars, that piles up. We're forgetting that this is a river that had shrapnel and bombs from World War I that are still at the bottom of the damn river. The rust, all of that. I'm not an environmental guy, but what the hell? Why? I don't get it. You spend $1 billion and it's still dirty. Comes to find out, there are several athletes that were sick and had to take themselves out of competition because they had E. coli and they just had too many they had digestive issues. There were people who were preparing by putting a little bit by doing different types of preparations with their immune system so they didn't get sick. It was the worst idea to have these people swim in this river. That is a lawsuit waiting to happen. I don't know why you decide to have a event in the dirty ass Seine River. I just don't get it. I said what I said. That's all I got to say.
No disagreement whatsoever.
Pretty much.
No.
Ben?
I'll go with the one thing on the Olympics first. Okay. The 3-on-3 basketball.
Oh,
come on, people. What? I don't get it. There's nothing, when they, that saying that's probably 100 years old. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was nothing wrong. The 5-on-5 women's basketball, the 5-on-5 men's basketball, that was great. We loved watching those games. That's the format of the WNBA. It's the format of the NBA, format of college basketball, format of all the European leagues. 5-on-5, people. That's what all the professional leagues and college leagues and high school leagues, that's what they play. That's basketball, 5-on-5. When you play 3-on-3, when you're at the YMCA or you're down in the summer at the local court outside and you ain't got 10, so you play 3-on-3. 3-on-3 should not be in the Olympics. This is dumb. I haven't watched 1 second of it at all because clearly the best players from your country are playing on the 5-on-5 team. Like what? I don't even know. I can't even name anybody on the. Can't name anybody on any of the teams on the 3-on-3 teams because I haven't watched any of it because it's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like the women's basketball tournament, the actual games, the 5-on-5, and the men's. This is great entertainment. This is great basketball. We don't need this 3-on-3 crap. It seems like it seems like a bunch of the Olympic committee got high at a party and we're like, well, what should we add? What would be funny? Oh yeah, I got an idea. Let's throw some 3-on-3 in there. Like it's just stupid, man. It just makes no sense whatsoever that is an actual thing in the Olympics.
Jimmer Verdette, 35-year-old Jimmy Verdette coming out of retirement. I don't know what the hell that's about.
It's just horrible. It's just a dumb idea, and I hope that, and it's hard to give faith to the International Olympic Committee for anything, but I hope that we don't see that again in 4 years because it's a joke. I don't know anybody in work conversations, on social media, in any text conversations that are talking anything about 3-on-3 because nobody's watching it. Nobody cares.
Facts.
So that's that. And the Cowboys, I'll give you a little sliver because I'll have to find the link exactly. But you personally, Jeff, would find great entertainment in what I said on that other podcast on Monday night. You would have, I mean, to be honest, it's about an hour, but you would be laughing your butt off the entire time. So I went mostly on my Cowboys rant over there, but I'll go with a little bit here. I think that my boldish take on that was that they've decided clearly that they're not paying Dak Prescott. Like they're not doing it. Like I just don't see it happening now in 2 weeks or after this season. They've made a decision that they're not going to pay him. I think that obviously they're afraid to say it and they're not going to say it. But I also think that both sides kind of know it's run its course. Like, let's break up. So, like, neither side wants to say, let's go our separate ways. But both sides think that it's going to go these separate ways. I just think that it'd be good for Dak. And I think that Dallas has, let's be honest, has not really done him right overall. Yes, they gave him a huge contract after that catastrophic injury. I understand that. But they could have given him a lesser contract before he got hurt. It would have been better off for the team anyways. So I think given that you've made that decision, or at least in my opinion, you've made that decision, you can't tell me right now, even though we're a couple weeks from the season and the draft clearly is already over, you can't tell me there's not like 20 teams right now that would trade for him like right now. And if you're not going to pay him, and you're just going to lose him in unrestricted free agency next year. I was reading, I think which is so dumb with the dead cap, but that's the NFL. That's what we live in. Nobody ever understands the cap and the dead cap. Nobody. Even the experts don't really understand the cap because it's impossible. But if he leaves in free agency, which again, this makes no sense to me because his contract will be over. Like he's a free agent, but somehow he was still counting like $38 million against on a dead cap next year.
That makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. He doesn't even have a contract anymore. But I saw it, and it's stupid. But if that's the case, and you're not going to pay him, you might as well trade him, and you don't need to wait until after the season. You don't need to, because at that point you ain't getting nothing for him because he's a free agent. Now, you're still not going to get the value you could have gotten if you traded him in April. But if you really wanted to, and you spent the next week calling teams saying he's available, there's 20 teams that would take him. And if you really wanted to do a deal, you could do a deal.
Oh, yeah, you can get a haul.
And the thing is, you have Trey Lance on your roster, right? We all know we have no idea if Trey Lance can ever be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Nobody knows that. You kind of have to find out because he's a free agent too. So if Dak leaves and then Lance leaves, you got nothing. And how are you going to justify paying Trey Lance You don't see him on the field. You got to see what he can do. I mean, like, I just don't. I just think that if you have decided Dak is not the guy, fine, then you got to see if somebody else is. So for me personally, both sides know it's headed towards a breakup. Both sides don't want to say it, but it kind of pisses me off. And also at the same time, if you're not going to pay Dak, that means you got the money to pay Parsons and pay CeeDee Lamb.
You gotta at least pay them.
Like, you gotta pay them, dudes. Those are your two best players. So
no, that's facts. I mean, like I said, man, it just as a fan, yeah, like it just as a fan, it's just very frustrating because I am pro just like doing the right thing first before I'm a fan of my team. And Dak Prescott has all the leverage, and I'm not sure. Ben, did you hear what he said like yesterday or when he was at training camp? When he was saying
well, I heard him say something along the lines of the money's there. In other words, if you're not paying me, somebody else is gonna.
Facts, and he's already rich, so he's set for life no matter what. But all right, good rant.
He doesn't owe them any favors, and he's not going to give them any favors, and nor should he.
Right, 4th round draft pick, took over in 2016. I mean, he's a great regular season quarterback. Maybe a change of scenery could be good for him, and maybe he could have some other postseason success in the right coaching situation. I don't think he's had the best coaching. He's had Jason Garrett, and he's had McCarthy. I mean, are those guys you feeling really good about? I'm just saying, hey, just think about this in an ideal world. Bill Belichick comes out of retirement, coaches the Giants, and Dak Prescott goes to the Giants.
That would be an interesting universe.
I'm just saying, Ray, how would you feel about that before we conclude?
I think you stunned him.
I thought the silence for me would have been enough, but to answer your question, no, just do I want this? But I don't know. If you had told me this 5 to 10 years ago, then I'd be a little bit more excited about it. And as far as Dak goes,
it's hard to hear you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
Mediocre quarterback who flashes are brilliant. Nearing 10 years and we don't know. Hear me now? Fellas, hold on.
How's this?
Yes, much better.
Better?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. I was saying that I don't know. If you'd have told me 5-10 years ago that Belichick was interested in coming to the Giants, okay, I can get on board with that. Now it's like, are we getting a retread of things that stopped working in New England? And as far as Dak Prescott goes, my thing is this: is he a good quarterback that had mediocre coaching, or was he a mediocre quarterback this whole time and the coaching made no difference? I'm still not sure, and we're nearing almost a decade, not even a decade of him being in the league, but long enough that we shouldn't have this question. But we do, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I mean, hell, I've seen stranger things happen. If they both end in New York, so be it. But honestly, I think I'm good.
Okay, all right. Facts on facts. But all right, we are well over the 1 hour period, so we will conclude for today, guys. To all of our listeners, catch us on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. DTS Sports 33 on Twitter. We still call it Twitter. We still have our Twitter handles here. But peace and love, guys. Until next time, peace out and Hail Von Miller.